Good morning. Bishop Magwana from Leboa Home Zone F. Cathy, the stalemate in Gauteng, it's all the arrogance of the ANC. The ANC must get off the high horse and come down here. They got 34%, they did not win votes. They got 28%, they did not win votes. So any one of them can formulate the government. Now, in proportionality, when they get into view, they already have a premier, which is one post to the ANC. They must take 5 extra. Give IFP 1, give DA 4, then form a government of national unity. This halabaloon they are doing is not in the interest of the people of Gauteng, but in their interest.
Good morning, Mrs. Cathy. This is Mato speaking. My wish to all the new cabinet, they must forget about undermining each other. Put the citizen of South Africa first. Make sure education is better for all, employment for all, security for all. Judiciary must step up and do the right thing. Police force, they must make sure they do the right thing. The citizens themselves, they must be united and build a better South Africa. We are blessed in this country. We are a better country with most rich mineral resources. Let's together join hands. Those ministers, I pray for them to God to enlighten them and give them a better spirit to make South Africa a beautiful country.
Good morning, Sis Cathy. Yeah, Sis Cathy, man, our new ministers, the ministers which really must just do us justice. Minister of Police, he must just focus, come with a strategy to deal with this thing of the protection. People of South Africa are feeling very bad about this protection, because this protection fee thing is putting us in jail while we are not in jail. Focus on that, health and education. Those 3 ministries must just work and make us happy.
Good morning, Cathy, and the brilliant team behind the scenes. I'm Donald in Rustenburg. To the new Minister of Home Affairs, Dr. Leon Schreiber, I just want to say, and I believe he's going to work professionally on that portfolio. He's not going to follow Dr. Aaron Mtswaleli's footsteps, treating African immigrants as second-class citizens in their continent.
Good morning, Sis Cathy. Sis Cathy, tell me, madam, what criteria is ANC using to appoint like the premiers? Do they evaluate or go and check like what the person has done? Because we had this premier Mabuyane for the past 10 years. What is it that he has done for Eastern Cape? Have you ever seen Queenstown, King Williamstown, Kaiskama, Hook, Alice? Those places, Mtata. What has he done like in these past 10 years? Can they ask him just to name just 3? That I build a hospital here, I build a school there. I just want to know, what has he done? Nothing. Sure. Eastern Cape. Really, ANC, I don't know how they select these people, these useless people.
The Talking Point with Cathy Mohlahlana. Weekdays, 9 a.m. till midday.
All right, in a moment, we're going to get into our conversation looking at energy security on the continent. We're watching also, seeing the live pictures of Makadzi at OR Tambo International Airport. Of course, she's won that BET award over the weekend. And really, what a warm welcome for her at the airport. So many of her fans, her family members, have gathered there, and it really is just such a beautiful picture of the celebration of her success and just what a national and international superstar she has become. All right, let me take a quick break and then we continue with the show on the other side of this break.
SAFM supports a litter-free South Africa. Play your part in keeping our surroundings and environment clean. SAFM, leading the conversation.
SAFM has signed a code of conduct that is enforced by the Broadcasting Complaints Commission of South Africa. Under the code, we are committed to giving news that is accurate, comment that is fair, and programming that is not harmful, does not amount to hate speech, or contain violence or explicit sex. If you think we are not living up to that code, then you can inform the Broadcasting Complaints Commission of South Africa. Direct any complaints in writing to the Broadcasting Complaints Commission of South Africa. PO Box 142365, Craig Hall 2024. Fax to 011-326-3198 or an email to bccsa@nabsa.co.za. For more information, please visit www.bccsa.co.za. The Market Update, Monday to Thursday, 6 to 7 p.m.
Want to stay ahead of the financial game? Join us tonight from 6 to 7 p.m. for an insightful journey through the day's market developments, financial updates, and investment news. Tune in for your daily dose of financial intelligence as we navigate the twists and turns of the financial landscape with expert insights. Only on the SAFM Market Update.
SAFM Market Update with Jimmy Muyaha.
SAFM values your views. Be an active citizen.
Well, let me welcome onto the show Mrs. Chiboni Evans, who's the CEO of the South African Electrotechnical Export Council. And it's in light of the conference that is taking place next week, which is the Africa Energy Sector Inward Buying and Investment Mission. Ms. Evans, good morning to you. Thank you so much for your time this morning.
Good morning, Cathy, and good morning to your listeners.
Let's talk about next week's gathering, in particular dealing with the issue of energy security on the continent. When you look at our energy sector more broadly, the world, of course, has been undergoing this energy transition. How would you say that the continent has been affected by that so far?
Okay, thank you. So the initiative will be taking place beginning on the 15th, Monday the 15th of July, until the 19th of July. It's a week-long initiative that is being supported by the Department of Trade, Industry and Competition. So as the South African Electrotechnical Export Council, we work closely with the DTIC. And this is the 6th year where we're bringing in African energy sector leaders. It would be buyers, project owners, and this year we're also involving our South African financial institutions to have a look at the issues around Africa's energy sector, particularly how this is supporting the needs of Africans in terms of two key areas. One is industrialization and the energy infrastructure we've got to support the industrialization objectives we've got as a continent. And the second one is with electrification. As you will be aware through SDG 7, there is a target of trying to make sure we reach 100% electrification by 2030.
One of the challenges that we have seen on the continent is an issue of energy scarcity. By that I mean that in a lot of areas, demand outstrips supply, and it results in what is often known as load shedding in South Africa, but in electricity blackouts, and that's not a phenomenon that's necessarily unique to South Africa.
No, it's not. And in fact, one of the things that we have done quite successfully as the Export Council, we are an organization, as I say, mandated by the Department of Trade, Industry and Competition to have an outward view in terms of what we do as South Africa into the rest of the world, but with a focus on the African continent. So our mandate is to actually see how we showcase the capabilities of South Africa's energy sector to the rest of the continent. And in that regard, when we compare where we sit as South Africa with regards to, first of all, the level of energy supply that we generate, which is just over 50,000 megawatts, the second largest on the continent after Egypt. And more importantly, the level of energy access that we have, which is sitting at over 95%, one of the highest on the continent as well. Despite our challenges of load shedding, we still find that we have got an energy infrastructure and mechanisms to manage load shedding that we can share with the rest of the continent. So a lot of the continent do have quite intense power cuts. There's some of the countries that we're also being influenced in Zambia that are looking at the moment between 12 to 14 hours of load shedding a day. Others have, some of them have even more. And what they look at in terms of South Africa is to look at where we've had those sorts of challenges. What can we share with them in terms of how do we manage our load shedding? As I'm sure we're all aware, South Africa, sometimes we do take it for granted. When we have load shedding, we've got apps on our phones that tell us exactly when our power is going off and when it's going to come back on. Even in places like the UK, in fact, we did a visit to the UK a few years ago where they were looking to South Africa to give them some inputs in terms of how do you manage the communication to your consumers and your customers when you've got issues and challenges such as load shedding. So whilst load shedding has been an issue for us, we've had a lot of learnings from it. And what we've done from that is take those learnings and see how we can share them and actually and monetize them where we can to make sure we generate revenue for exports for our country.
Of course, energy is also a space that is creating a lot of opportunity, especially when we think about renewable energy. Perhaps you can speak to us about the shifts that we're seeing on the continent when it comes to renewable energy. And I guess, off the back of that, it's really the pace at which all of this is happening.
Yes, so obviously the preference, as you build your energy infrastructure, is to try and use as clean a source of energy as you possibly can. In addition to so that's a sort of a global moral imperative, so that we make sure that we have a planet that we can leave to our children. So moving to clean renewable energy is something that we need to do. As we build our energy infrastructure in the continent, the other things that in terms of financing our infrastructure, there is no financing at the moment for what we call fossil fuel technologies. So the financing for renewable energy is really more available to African continents who do depend on foreign direct investments to try and help them build a lot of this infrastructure. Having said that, we also have got African financiers who are also assisting with the infrastructure builds, but they too are also saying, we need to make sure that as far as we possibly can, we must go down the renewable energy route. What has happened is that the African Union in 2022 issued a common position for the African continent on how we should undertake the just energy transition. And what came out of that common position was saying that, yes, we agree that we do need to make sure that we transition in a clean way as possible. But we're also aware that on the African continent, we've got a strong need to industrialize very, very rapidly. And when you industrialize, you need what we call a base load that will be able to sustain your manufacturing and production facilities. And quite often your renewable energy assets don't give you that sort of level of power that is required for factories, to run large production units. So therefore, you need to use more stable sources such as coal. And now we're also looking at, hydro. In some countries, they use hydro. So those are the most stable sources of power that give you that level of base load. So as Africa, we're saying we want to transition, but there's a pace at which we need to do it because we need to industrialize in order to grow our economies. Because as you well know, a lot of the economies on the African continent are sitting at a very, very low base. In addition to that, we've got a need to make sure that we create industries, even in the renewable energy space, that will create employment for the local people. So there's a developmental and social impact that we need to take into consideration. So when we deploy these assets into, for instance, rural areas, we need to make sure that those communities are going to benefit in some ways in terms of first of all, the construction of the assets and thereafter the maintenance of the assets. So those are some of the issues that we've been looking at as an African in terms of how we transition as a continent into the renewable energy space.
So does that mean that by and large, you are going to have somewhat of a lag on the continent in as far as energy is concerned, and in particular where this transition then to renewables is affected? Is that a given that Africa is not going to transition as rapidly as the rest of the world is?
Well, I think I would argue that probably Africa is transitioning, has more renewable and has, proportionately a lot more renewable assets than some of the other countries. So you take a country, for instance, like Kenya, where you look at their energy mix, and they've got quite a strong component. I think it's up to 30 to 40% of their energy mix is from renewables. The Americans don't even boast that level of renewables in their energy mix because they still got quite a heavy fossil fuel component or gas component in terms of their mix. So the advantage we have as Africans is that because we're building new assets, we've got the ability to be able to manage what we call our energy mix so that we've got that correct balance of renewables versus our fossil fuels. What we're saying in terms of the way that we're going to build our assets is that we're not just going to go 100% renewables at an accelerated rate. In order for us to industrialize, in order for us to provide access to electricity that we need for the populations that we have, we do need to have in our energy mix a component of non-renewables. And that has been what then makes our pace of going into the just energy transition a lot slower. We're not saying we're not going to transition. It will happen. And as I said, in fact, it can be argued that as we build, we're probably actually doing it at the right pace. What I think the Africans have been arguing in terms of what they do is to say, allow us to articulate the way in which we need to build our assets, our energy assets for our continent to take in the key factors of accelerated industrialization, the need to give access to energy, and the need to create job opportunities for our populations, especially our young populations. So remember, even as you build our renewable energy resources, there's certain skill sets that need to be built or to be formed within your population to allow you to build and manage those resources. Otherwise, we're going to end up as Africans, again, importing skills to manage our renewable energy assets. So we need to bring ourselves up to speed with all of these things to make sure that the benefit as we build these resources accrues back onto the African continent.
Of course, it also comes at an important time, which is really what you have described as the operational phase of the African continental free trade area, and what the implications of that then mean for such negotiations. Has there been a tangible change now that we have this agreement, and how would you say that it has affected the energy sector?
Well, I think that the key thing with the as we operationalize the African Continental Free Trade Area is the fact that what the AfCFTA does is to say to African nations, you need to start trading more with each other. And as you trade more with each other, you then have to look at what goods and services have you got to trade. So, Africa, the way that it has been built and structured, has by and large been built to extract materials and export them. With the AfCFTA, we're trying to create manufacturing bases so that we can start trading, finished products or value-added goods with each other. So we're not just, for instance, selling. If you look at agriculture sector, we're not just selling, raw potatoes out of the ground, but we're actually, beneficiating them in that we're cutting them, we're freezing them, and then we sell them as frozen chips across. So that's sort of, I'm just giving that as an example. So as we build those manufacturing bases, we're saying then you need the energy infrastructure to be able to support that. Another key initiative, if I may just go into that very briefly, that the AFCT are looking at, for instance, is I think there has been a commitment through to say that by 2030, 70% of all vaccines produced or utilized on the African continent should be manufactured on the African continent. What does that mean? You then have to build the facilities that manufacture those vaccines. We know in South Africa, for instance, companies such as Aspen already have built certain manufacturing facilities and have got capabilities, but we need to have those capabilities across the continent. Vaccines have got a certain requirement in terms of refrigeration to keeping them at a certain temperature. That requires energy. That requires a stable energy source. So as you look to trade with each other, as you look to ensure that you have certain certain policies that you put in place come into a reality, such as the one I've given you on the vaccines, you need to have the supporting infrastructure to be able to do that. And energy plays a key role in that. Because for you to manufacture and to support, you need to make sure you've got the energy to do it.
Chiboni Evans is the CEO of the South African Electrotechnical Export Council. We're going to continue this conversation with her in a moment. It's time for your latest news headlines.
Good morning. In the headlines, Deputy Minister of Electricity and Energy, Samantha Graham, says having access to information on the power utility Eskom will help them resolve the country's energy crisis and ensure there's no corruption. ANC Secretary-General Fikile Mbalula will brief the media this afternoon on the current stalemate between the ANC and the DA over the Gauteng cabinet. And Sierra Leone has officially banned child marriage, with the president signing into law a bill to end the practice that remains widespread. I'll have details on these and other stories at 11.
Taking a look at your markets this morning, the rand is currently trading at 18 rand 49 to the dollar, 23 rand 47 to the pound, and 19 rand 89 to the euro. Markets in Asia were mainly positive at the closing bell, the JSE higher in mid-morning trade. Markets in Europe are currently in positive terrain. Gold is trading at $2,346, platinum $999 per ounce. The price of Brent crude oil is at $86.57 a barrel.
In South Africa, 1 in 5 children under the age of 13 is overweight or obese. Sign a petition to demand strong warning labels on unhealthy packaged food. And don't forget to catch the next episode of Chew on This at healer.org on Thursday, 27 June from 3 p.m. Young people tell us how big food companies are feeding them lies.
In the heart of darkness, a beacon of light emerges. A brand new season is coming your way with your 2024 Miss South Africa Top 30. Hosted by our reigning queen, Miss South Africa, we embark on a transformative journey. Join us for the spectacular new season of Crown Chasers.
Crown Chasers is back.
Starts 29 June at 8:30 p.m. only on S3 Open Up.
I'm Michelle Constant. Join the JSB crew and I every Saturday and Sunday morning between 7 and 10 a.m. We promise to keep you informed and entertained with innovation, culture, cars, travel, life learnings, environment, and of course, your big fat juicy. Small stories, big ideas, massive inspiration. The Jet Set Breakfast on SAFM.
The Talking Point with Cathy Mohlahlana. Weekdays, 9 a.m. till midday.
We're looking at Africa's energy security and what it is that the continent needs to be doing today to position itself for a more secure energy future. We've touched on some of the challenges that, of course, face the continent when it comes to energy supply. Chiboni Evans is the CEO of the South African Electrotechnical Export Council. So, Chiboni, getting then South Africans or locals in South Africa to have a perspective of positioning themselves to be part of the export market. That in and of itself, is that necessarily easy to do, given the fact that a lot of what we use for energy too, except for maybe coal, we are also exporting from other countries?
So maybe if I can just take you back a little bit to what the South African Electrotechnical Export Council is. So we're a public-private partnership between the Department of Trade, Industry and Competition and the private sector in the electrotechnical space, which covers electrical engineering, and which is where renewable energy solutions lie. Our mandate, as I said before, from the DTIC, is to export South Africa's competencies and capabilities to the rest of the world, with a key focus on the rest of the African continent. So we have in our membership base over 120 South African companies, all the way from large multinationals and manufacturers such as Actom and ABB, and Eaton Electric, UC Electric. So those sorts of large organizations. But we also have a mandate to grow SMMEs who have got products and solutions for the export market. We then work very closely in a concept called the SA Inc. approach of doing business, which is where we then bring in, because I've mentioned government in terms of the DTIC, private sector. We also then have to go in when we do business on the continent with our financial institutions. And to that end, again, for this mission as well, we're collaborating very closely with Export Credit Insurance Corporation and the Development Bank of Southern Africa. Why are these two organizations important? Firstly, as you may be aware, there is a risk associated with doing business on the African continent, and ECIC provide that risk mitigation solutions to South African business people who want to secure business on the continent. And then DBSA provide the project financing. To get back to your question around how are we doing this as South Africa when we have to import quite a lot of what we need? On some of the solutions, yes, we are importing. But when we recruit people into our membership or organizations into our membership, they must have at least a minimum 35% local content in their manufacturing or the products that they've got to export. So we will never have in our membership, for instance, a company that will import product from the East or Europe and then just re-export it out of South Africa. There has to be minimum 35% local content. So in that way, we are therefore exporting by and large South African manufactured products and solutions. And that's where a lot of our companies sit. So part of this inward buying and investment mission, we're actually taking these 40 plus delegates that we'll bring in from the 12 African countries to the manufacturing facilities of our South African companies. So they'll go and see product that is manufactured in South Africa that they can then import into their countries. So that's what we're trying to do. Because a lot of these countries, what they do is that they come through to South Africa to transit through OR Tambo, to go to China, to go to Europe, to buy product there that we also manufacture in South Africa. So what we're trying to do, again, in line with the African Continental Free Trade Area Agreement, is to say, utilize that policy instrument, that trade instrument that allows for, free trade of goods, within the continent, and buy your product from South Africa and not from anywhere else. And let's trade more with each other as African countries. So we're selling product that we manufacture by and large in South Africa.
There's also often a view, Chiboni, that our energy policies or the thinking around the future of energy in this country is often an imported view. By that, you've got the developed world that is leading the conversation, and we almost then are expected to fall in line with whatever is being said, again, because we don't have that capital often that we need at a large scale to be able to invest in some of the infrastructure that we need. Are we finding ways of changing that, and how are we ensuring that even the solutions that we're looking at for a more energy secure future are solutions that are coming out of the continent and are really taking into account what it is that the continent needs, not ideas or thinking about what the continent might need from those that don't actually live here, that don't understand perhaps even the nature of the challenges that we face.
Yes. So as I said to you earlier on when we started the conversation, the African Union have in 2022 put together a position paper, which basically articulates Africa's position on our energy sector and the just energy transition. So what our role is then as Africans, and I think media also play a role in this, is to make sure that we familiarize ourselves with these documents and start using those documents when we speak about the African energy sector. And that way it then prevents the situation where the voice of what Africa's energy sector should look like comes from outside of Africa. We have got policies in place. We have got very competent people that have been discussing these issues over the years at institutions such as the African Union, the EU Commission, the Economic Commission for Africa, and other such institutions. So we have got a policy direction we want to take as Africa. You'll know that President Ramaphosa at COP27, I think it was in Glasgow, was quite firm in terms of even our climate change commitments, how we as Africa should be financed for those commitments, and that the financing should be more in the in forms of grants that are given to the African continent, because we are the least emitters of greenhouse gases into the air. So it's a bit unfair that we then should be charged or be labored with or burdened with debt to be able to go green. So there are those, Africa is beginning to articulate its position a lot better and, dare I say, a lot firmer in these places.
All right.
But as you rightly also say, Cathy, the financing also dictates what you do. And if you're getting money, as they say, he who pays the piper calls the tune. If your payment is coming from outside of the continent, then they will dictate how you should operate. And therefore, as I said, coming back, we've got institutions such as the Development Bank of Southern Africa supporting in terms of projects, and we're also working closely now with Exim Bank, who will also probably be supporting this initiative, and we're also in discussions with the Industrial Development Corporation of South Africa. So those are key South African institutions, and we've got as well the African Development Bank, who've got a huge amount of funding to support projects. So the important thing, I think, is for African governments and project owners to understand where the money is sitting in Africa to finance African projects.
Let's talk about then the Africa Energy Consultants group that was set to be launched at the Africa Energy Indaba. I imagine that they've already started with the work. And what are you hoping that this group is going to bring to the table?
So that grouping was a group of consultants that we brought in. I think that was just before COVID. From I think it was East Africa. We had a few from Central Africa as well, Zambia, Kenya, Tanzania. So these were they were primarily officials who were previously in the utilities there that had now formed their own consulting firms that we were wanting to work with to see how we can formulate and articulate policies and strategies for African energy business people and opportunities on the continent. So that, as I said, that happened at the Africa Energy Indaba before COVID. So COVID actually put a bit of a slow pace into how we moved along with that. And since that point, we've actually evolved to where we're now saying our focus, rather than on getting the consultants to help us, articulate policy, we know we're getting that from the AU. We're rather looking at the business opportunity that is presented by the infrastructure build of energy infrastructure build on the continent. Hence, now our focus is working with the financial institutions to make sure we have the money to be able to allow for Africans to build that infrastructure. So the key focus of this initiative is to bring African energy project owners with African energy project developers, with African energy project financiers, all into one room and see how, as Africans, we can build the infrastructure that we need.
So tell us a bit more about next week. You'll be hosting 2 events. What are you hoping you'll also walk out of those engagements with?
So on the 15th of July, which is the Monday, we will start off with a business forum at the DBSA campus in Midrand, where we're expected to host over 100 people, which includes the 50 African energy sector delegates that we have been invited, supported by the DTIC, to come through. Those are coming from 12 African countries outside of the SACU region, and we've also invited delegates from the SACU, which is, so the countries we're inviting is Angola, Democratic Republic of Congo, Kenya, Uganda, Mozambique, Nigeria, Ghana, Egypt, Zambia, and Zimbabwe. Those are the countries that are going to be coming through with their heads of regulators, people from the energy departments, independent power producers, some of them, some specialized agencies such as lawyers who help to put together projects and so on. And then we've also invited Botswana, Namibia, Eswatini, and Lesotho as well to participate. That will be held at the DBSA, and in that session, in those sessions, we'll have, the DTIC, the minister's just been appointed, so it's just waiting to understand if he's going to be available to host and welcome them on that day. And then we've got the DBSA and ECIC as well to present to the delegates what financial offerings come out of South Africa. We will also have then South African private sector in the room to be able to engage with the delegates. After that, the delegates then go and visit, as I said to you, the manufacturing facilities in Gauteng. And we've got 7 companies that they're going to go and visit in Gauteng, where they're all the way from, companies that produce, switchgear, transformers, electrical equipment, and metering and so on. So it's quite a range. And then, so that's the initial engagement. Then the delegation then goes to Cape Town for 3 days, where we'll engage with them in what we call our African Energy Projects Conclave, where the project owners will then present all the projects in their countries to our South African exporters. And then on the final day of the 18th, we'll then have what we call Africa Energy Colloquium, which I can go to later. And we then also have scheduled 2 site visits as well in Cape Town. One most important one in Cape Town is the South African Renewable Energy Training Center, where they train tech artisans for the repair and maintenance of solar facilities and wind facilities. Again, a solution that we proudly have in South Africa that we don't sell enough of, and our African brothers and sisters are sending people overseas to get trained when we've got facilities in South Africa that we can utilize to train them. So that's why we showcase that particular facility.
All right, Chiboni Evans, we're going to leave it there. The CEO of the South African Electrotechnical Export Council. So as you heard, quite a lot of work to be done, but it also seems a lot of opportunity that is being created for South African entrepreneurs, for South African businesses when it comes to energy on the rest of the continent. So we'll then keep a close eye on that South Africa energy sector inward buying and investment mission that is set to get underway next week. So we are edging closer to the swearing-in ceremony that is taking place in Cape Town this morning. The Government of National Unity is set to be sworn in. It looks like that ceremony is going to officially kick off at 11 o'clock. We're going to take you to our reporters in a moment to have been there, and I've been talking to some of the individuals ahead of that official kickoff. We'll give you a sense of what is happening in Cape Town this morning.
The Market Update, Monday to Thursday, 6 to 7 p.m.
Want to stay ahead of the financial game? Join us tonight from 6 to 7 p.m. for an insightful journey through the day's market developments, financial updates, and investment news. Tune in for your daily dose of financial intelligence as we navigate the twists and turns of the financial landscape with expert insights. Only on the SAFM Market Update.
SAFM Market Update with Jimmy Muyaha. SAFM supports a litter-free South Africa. Play your part in keeping our surroundings and environment clean. SAFM, leading the conversation.
Conversations that you connect with and react to. SAFM.
We continue the conversation on the talking point. One of the big stories this morning, of course, the ministers of the 7th administration, members of cabinet, are being sworn in this morning at the convention centre that has been a running venue. Remember, we still don't have parliament, and due to the numbers that we're talking about, the location has moved from what would be the city hall in the last couple of years to now the convention centre. That's where we find our reporter Abongwe Gobukana on the line there in Parliament. Abongwe, good morning to you. It looks like we're close to this program getting underway. We've seen quite a lot of the individuals that are set to be sworn in this morning arriving for the official ceremony. What have they had to say to you as journalists that are present there this morning?
Well, good morning, Cathy, and FM listeners. Look, I must say, for this day in Cape Town, it's raining. It has been pouring since this morning around after 8 o'clock up until now as we speak. Yes, you are quite correct. There are a number of, in fact, I think the majority of the cabinet ministers and their deputies, they have already arrived at the city ICC where the event is happening. And we try to speak and grab some of them as they enter the venue. And earlier on, if I were to say to mention that as well, the official time that was given to us as a media was that it's going to start at 10 up to 11. But as the things now stand, it seems that time has been shifted, and there is a bit of a delay, or it has been shifted to 11 o'clock. We'll try to grab some of the ministers and their deputies, the new ones and the ones that are returning, and that they have tried to outline, based on our questions, some of their plans on their portfolios. For instance, if I were to mention one of the new ministers that are coming in, the Minister for Basic Education, which is the member of the ACV Kwahuba, and then we even tried to interrogate her on the issue of the Bella Bill, which is a controversial bill that is before the President as we speak for assent. And she tried to say that what she will try to do is to actually listen, give some time from the officials of the report, of the department, and to get some views before she can take any other decision in that regard about that bill, whether she will, then after she has heard from them, whether she will try to influence where she can for the bill to be relooked again. And the other thing that she has spoke about, because you remember that the very same opposition party, the DA, was one of the main opposition parties in Parliament during that legislative process that was against the bill. But it then went through, and there were threats also insofar as taking the bill to the Constitution if the President, to the courts of laws if the President signed it in. But she said that all that we can do now is to listen, and then after that she will make up her mind. The Minister of Police, Mpun, as well, we try to also grab him and find out what are his priorities for the police department. She also similar sentiments to say that firstly she needs to get to get sworn in formally, and then after that she will meet with the department and get the report and try to understand what are the main challenges. But and then she said that there are things that really are already in his mind in terms of the rape issues and the murder cases that are currently happening, that he doesn't need necessarily to get some reports in that. Those are the open issues that are in the public, and then the number of them asking them from various portfolios and what are their plans. That, in a nutshell, that's what they told us, Cathy.
Abongwe, do you get a sense that these individuals have buried the political hatchet, as it were?
No, I beg your pardon again, Cathy.
Have they put aside their tensions? Have they become a lot more friendly towards each other?
That's a very important question. In fact, some of them, when they actually, even the majority of them, I think this issue of the government of national unity, the GNU, seem to be the uniting force. If one has to listen, if their responses are anything to go by, because they were saying that, I remember Wolomisa was a deputy in the defense, General Wolomisa was saying that they have to take responsibility. They can't run away from taking responsibility and making the country to go ahead, because again they go along the lines that the people have spoken, and they say that there's no one political party that has won, and therefore they must be united, whether there are political differences outside of a cabinet. But under these circumstances, they've got to play their responsibility, their role, in order to make sure that the government is not leaderless. It's under the responsibility of the cabinet. So that was the main issue that was said among them. Some of them on the issue of the bloated, so-called bloated cabinet, as you know, that it has gone as far as about 70 if you include the cabinet ministers and the deputy minister. They were very reluctant to actually express their views in that regard. Many of them saying that will be a political issue that needs to be narrated outside of the cabinet or government. For them today to be here, they are just here as representative of the executive, which is another arm of government. And another thing that I wanted to mention, Cathy, is that which is the Chief Justice will be the one that will be conducting the swearing in, including the swearing in of the Deputy President, which is Paul Mashatile. Of course, Mr. Number One, the President, has already been sworn in. So for today is the Deputy and the Cabinet Ministers.
All right, Abongwe Gobokana on the line, and that's where we're going to leave it with him for now. He's our SABC journalist in Parliament. We're expecting then that swearing-in ceremony to get underway at the top of the hour. Before we get to it, you, of course, have been continuing to send your messages for these leaders as they sworn in as members of the cabinet today.
Morning, Cathy. Sfiso Ipubis Lasebakulusini Zungu. I would like to remind them one thing: categorical imperatives under Kantian's theory. Even if you want to do something, and even if that something will bring you greater good, but if it won't benefit the greater populace, don't do it. Even if you want to do corruption, and that will make you feel rich and that will make you wealthy, don't do it. Because it's like we're on the plane. Whatever happens on the plane, even if you are sitting on a presidential suite, pilot's cabin, commercial, but whatever happens on that plane, we're all going down. Thank you.
Morning, Sister Cathy. Qanqa Shibasa here from Waqotaza, KZN. No, my message to the ministers is that they have to start to work now and also to visit the communities now, not to visit the communities when we approach the elections, as the 2026 elections are coming. So yeah, if they can visit the communities now and see their problems, then I think I will be behind them. Thank you so much.
Good morning, Cathy. It's DC. I'm calling you from Durban. What one wishes that all these ministers or executive members do remember that they're not serving their political parties or not serving particular parts of the society, but they're serving South Africa as a whole, and they've made an oath with regards to the constitution. However, it seems to be a culture of South African politics. Whenever people are put into a corner, they'll go back and say they're serving their political or their constituent. So one wishes really these politicians really stick to serving South Africa as a whole, not those who they believe those are the people that actually voted for them. I don't know when we'd really be so matured, but it is a challenge.
In our top stories, newly appointed Deputy Minister speaks on tackling corruption at Eskom, and ANC to address latest developments on Gauteng Government of Provincial Unity. Good morning. Deputy Minister of Electricity and Energy Samantha Graham says having access to information on the power utility Eskom will help them resolve the country's energy crisis and ensure there's no corruption. The power utility has in the past blamed its problems on sabotage and theft of coal by organized gangs. Graham is joining the Minister of Electricity and Energy, Hossein Ramokgopa, who has been reappointed. Graham says she's looking forward to working with him. She was speaking to the SABC in Cape Town ahead of the swearing-in ceremony of newly appointed cabinet members.
I've always had huge respect for Dr. Ramokgopa, and certainly he has proven himself, irrespective of what we've called him out on. He has proven himself. We're nearing 100 days without load shedding. There have been no indications that there's been anything nefarious. We've got the information that we need. It makes it so much easier for us to understand what is happening, to do the oversight that is required, to ensure that there's proper accountability and ensure that there is no corruption happening.
ANC Secretary-General Fikile Mbalula will brief the media this afternoon on the current stalemate between the ANC and the DA over the Gauteng cabinet. Mbalula's briefing comes on the back foot of two postponed cabinet announcements by Premier Panyaza Lesufi, as both the DA and the ANC are unable to find common ground on the number of portfolios that should be allocated to the DA. Sibahle Mota reports.
Mbalula is expected to clarify the current impasse over the allocation of seats in the provincial legislature between the DA and the ANC. This is as the DA has rejected the ANC's proposal of just 3 portfolios in the provincial legislature, while the ANC walks away with 7 MEC positions. The DA says that the number of portfolios allocated to it should represent the 29 May results. The Democratic Alliance has proposed to the ANC that it should be given 4 MEC portfolios, a move that has been firmly rejected by the ANC.
Political analyst Ntsikelelo Breakfast says the Umkhonto weSizwe party needs to have an elective conference to avoid having one person making decisions on behalf of the party. This follows the resignation of the party Secretary-General Arthur Zwane. In a letter written to party leader, former President Jacob Zuma, Zwane cites being inundated with his workload, which competes with his business interests that he is pursuing. The letter comes a few days after Zuma sent a letter to Zwane informing him that he has been relinquished from his position with immediate effect. Breakfast elaborates.
The absence of democracy, what I call substitutionism, because now you are substituting democracy with dictatorship. If one person makes a decision and then the rest of the rank and file responds by saying, "Thus says the Lord," that is not democracy. Even if you want to argue and say, no, there is democratic centralism. Democratic centralism doesn't mean that one person makes decisions. Democratic centralism means that people debate. That's why there's an element of democracy. You debate and debate, then you exhaust discourse, then you pronounce, then all and sundry must abide.
The family of Xolani Kunene has approached AfriForum's private prosecution unit for assistance in his murder, saying it's the only hope for them right now. This after investigators and prosecutors allegedly tried to convince them to accept a controversial plea deal. The offer would see the accused plead guilty to culpable homicide in exchange for no prison time. The agreement would see murder accused Buhle Mabaso pay Kunene's family 500,000 rand in compensation for Kunene's death in exchange for a suspended sentence and a guilty plea on culpable homicide. They rejected the offer. Sindisiwe Mhlongo, sister to the late Xolani Kunene, says the family is seeking justice and accountability for his murder.
AfriForum is the hope right now for your ordinary people like our family. You know, my brother was not famous, and it wasn't our intention to go public. We gave the process a fair amount of time. But for me, like the moment that we were being approached around compensation and the IO was getting involved, I just knew something was wrong. The public, I think, is spot on in saying AfriForum right now is standing up for people, because we wouldn't get all this attention if they had not stepped in and believed in us and validated our insecurities and fears and the gaslighting that I feel was low-key happening with the National Prosecuting Authority.
Sierra Leone has officially banned child marriage, with the president signing into law a bill to end the practice that remains widespread. The health ministry estimates that a third of girls are married off before they turn 18, accounting for the country's high number of maternal deaths, which are among the highest in the world. Under the law, any man who marries a girl under the age of 18 could face at least 15 years in prison and a fine of around $4,000. Parents or those attending such marriage ceremonies could also face punishment under the new law. Recapping the top story, Deputy Minister of Electricity and Energy Samantha Graham says having access to information on the power utility Eskom will help them resolve the country's energy crisis and ensure that there's no corruption. For SAFM News, I am Anne Musa.
SAFM 104 to 107 nationwide. Leading the conversation.
It's Truck Month at Ford, and that means one thing. You save big when you upgrade to a 4x4. For a limited time only, get a Ford Ranger 4x4 from only $8,599 per month. Visit your nearest Ford dealer to get the best deal on a Ranger 4x4 from only $8,599 per month with free 4x4 driver training. TNCs apply.
Can you flex your musical skills? Fuse together the traditional music beats and mix them with modern sounds. Listen up. If you are a Maskandi, Skatamiya, Afrofusion or Umbankanga artist, the brand new show Ushuni Womhlaba is looking for you. Auditions are coming to your city. Gauteng, 22 to 23 June, Mai. Eastern Cape, 29 to 30 June, Lusikisiki Health Resource Center. Mpumalanga, 6 to 7 July, Emalahleni Civic Theatre. KZN, 13 to 14 July, The Playhouse Company. Auditions start at 8 a.m. Ushuni Womhlaba, proudly brought to you by SABC1. Zanzi, for sure.
Are you ready to buy or build your first home or buy a stand anywhere in South Africa? If you are a South African citizen, you and your spouse have never benefited from a government housing subsidy program, and your household income is between 3,501 and 22,000 Rand per month, your dream can be realized by applying for a first home finance subsidy. To apply, just log into the First Home Finance application online portal at firsthomefinance.co.za or call a call center agent on 010-085-2199 to assist you for free with completing your First Home Finance online application. Beware, applying for First Home Finance subsidy is free. Do not pay anyone when applying for the subsidy. The NHFC is an agency of the National Department of Human Settlements.
In the heart of darkness, a beacon of light emerges. A brand new season is coming your way with your 2024 Miss South Africa Top 30. Hosted by our reigning queen, Miss South Africa, we embark on a transformative journey. Join us for the spectacular new season of Crown Chasers.
Crown Chasers is back.
Starts 29 June at 8:30 p.m. only on S3 Open Up.
The Talking Point with Cathy Mohlahlana. Weekdays, 9 a.m. till midday.
You're listening to The Talking Point. Welcome to the final hour of the show, 10 after 11 o'clock. And coming up in this hour then, we're watching the proceedings out of Cape Town. The 75-strong cabinet of the 7th administration is going to be sworn in. So that includes the deputy president, the ministers, and of course the deputy ministers. Sophie Mokwena is SABC News International editor. We get to speak to her a lot, often not in studio. Sophie, it's a pleasure to have you with us in studio this morning.
Thank you so much, Cathy. I felt that I must come in person.
And we are honored by your presence.
Thank you so much.
So when we see what is happening, of course, the Director General in the presidency, who's also the Secretary of Cabinet, Pindile Baleni, is the one that seems will be running the agenda for today in terms of just the program. And then the Chief Justice, of course, is the one that is going to be administering or overseeing the oaths of office that are taken by these ministers. But just looking at the room, it is a packed room, 75 people. All of them are now going to be part of the executive effectively in this administration. It's the biggest that we have had post-democratic South Africa, and one can see that in these visuals.
When I had the number on Sunday night, I literally visualized the size. It's massive. It's massive. You can imagine with the DGs and with the assistants, the security, if they have to go somewhere. Let's take, for example, when they converge for Lekgotla, it's going to be a massive traffic and people around that area, even though some will not be inside. I'm talking about the assistants and other administrative staff. It's massive. It's massive. 1994, we had a government of national unity. It wasn't so big.
And you're raising a good point, because the cost of running a cabinet of this size is really going to come in when they now have to set up their offices. So they have to appoint secretaries, they have to appoint personal assistants. So their offices have to be fully functional, regardless of whether they're ministers or deputy ministers.
Yes, you'll find that deputy ministers, they do have support staff. It might not be as big as a fully fledged minister, but they do have support staff. And therefore, it's massive. And that is why I'm saying it's massive. A lot of money. We are going to pay for this. The question is, are we going to get value for the money that is going to be spent on this massive executive? Because when you include the deputy ministers, it is a national executive, and cabinet is just ministers.
The ministers, yes. So when we look at the mix of individuals, there's long been a cry for young people to be included in the executive. And certainly one sees that there is quite a mix, and it also feels like there are a lot of new faces. Yes, there'll be some familiar faces, but that seems to be here and there. By and large, seeing the visuals that are coming out, looking across the room, every other person seems to be a new face.
Yes, you have quite a number of new faces, particularly because you have the opposition, 10 parties who are there, who must be part of this. And now you also have the ANC itself bringing in new faces, and therefore you really have many new faces. In terms of the gender, you see a lot of women, but also young women from particularly the main DA and the ANC. Therefore, you can see that transition, particularly for the African National Congress, handing over baton to a younger generation. When you look at people like Nongeba Mohlahlana, and you look at Ronald Lamola, you look at Nchaveng, even though she was there already. But I'm saying these are more younger generation within the African National Congress and in different generations. Actually, I was saying, I see, you remember that Youth League of Julius Malema, many NEC members of that generation are now either in the legislatures, in the National Assembly, in the NCOP, and some of them in cabinet. And I was saying, you can actually write a book or do a documentary how that generation has been able to really work hard to occupy space. Some of them are in the diplomatic cycle, like Voiswa Tulelo, who is in Vienna, their former secretary. So it is a transition also. I see a transition.
You're making such an important point and such a valid point, is that even though the politics may have changed, these individuals have not been lost to our political space. And one can certainly trace their roots. I mean, you talk about Ronald Lamola, you've just reminded me what an incredible journey his own story has been politically, because there was a time when it looked like he was down and out, that he was never going to make it back into the fold again. And yet, look at him today.
Yes, I remember when I was covering the politics, that Youth League of Lamola, Magaqa, Floyd, Malema, I used to do stories of the ANC at that time because we were allocated bits that you do politics in the governing party and government or in the opposition, so that we are able to bring proper content into our stories. So my focus was on the governing party and the government and local government. And therefore, I followed their, growth. And people often say Malema is radical. If you really want to know a radical person, that's Lamola at that time. And then when they were disbanded, fortunately, he was not expelled, and Magaqa and them, and they continued. And Magaqa, unfortunately, was killed in the KwaZulu-Natal, and Lamola is still there. Then they tried to sideline him during President Jacob Zuma's tenure, because that NEC of the ANC and the top leadership wanted to really clamp on that youth league. Others were expelled, others given suspension, but he soldiered on. I remember during the next Youth League conference, he was sidelined. Who can forget when he was seated there, having lost a nomination or election to the then ANC Youth League president, who came from Northwest, who was a shining example according to that NEC led by Zuma. And he soldiered on. When Zuma had his woes, you'd recall that important NEC meeting where he stood outside at Irene with a placard calling for action, in terms of being decisive as the ANC after all those challenges that were reported on in relation to the then ANC president, Jacob Zuma. And at that time, when you stand up and you are alone, you are a lone voice, it can be political suicide. But he soldiered on. But to show consistency, even when President Ramaphosa took over, you'd recall the last conference at Nasrec, there were people who were saying the chairperson of Eastern Cape, Mabuyane, should be the deputy president as part of the slate of President Ramaphosa. But Lamula said, I've been nominated, I'm going to stand. He refused to be part of the slate because you have to give this one. He lost with dignity, but the president realized that what he stood for was always in relation to be exemplary to the youth, but also you couldn't undermine his skills. And he appointed him a minister. And today he has given him even a bigger role of being Minister of International Relations.
Effectively the face of South Africa,
I
right?
was saying, now he's a counterpart of Antony Blinken, of Sergei Lavrov, Wang Yi of China. Those are heavyweights. So I think it's one of those stories. I was saying if he's able to maintain the consistency, clean, hardworking, don't be corrupt, he can go very far.
He's going for number one.
He can.
He's going for number one. All right. Well, of course, there's a lot within the context, right? That will also that will also matter. And it's not just, I suppose, the young people that have come out of the ANC. One looks at the likes of Nkuleko Hlengwa of the IFP
and the DA
and Siviwe Gwahube there,
and
one of
the communication minister.
Yes,
Solimalatsi.
Yes, Solimalatsi of the DA. So you do have this, young group of young people within this cabinet. What is that going to do for how cabinet is able to do its work? Because there are going to be those that are coming back that say, well, this is how things have always been done. There's a protocol and there's a line and this is how the line works. But when you look at all of some of these younger people, they're very headstrong. They're very clear on their ideas, are able to articulate themselves. What do you think that's going to do for the cabinet meetings, the behind the scenes work that you and I don't often get to see?
I hope the technocrats, because it's their responsibility, the civil servants, will support them. Because when you look at them, all of them already at political level, they are playing a prominent role at national politics. I mean, you spoke about Mkhulekwa Mhlengwa. I mean, this election, he was the face of the election, running around in terms of assisting the president of the IFP and for IFP to be visible. Even during the funeral of the late Chief Mangosuthu Buthelezi, he was there. You look at the DA leadership, I mean, they've been there for quite a long time, even giving support to the former leader of the DA, Musi Maimane. And then Lamula, like I pointed out, has been a member of the National Executive Committee and also the Working Committee of the ANC. So they've been there, and he was a Minister of Correctional Service, including the Justice Department. He was there at the Judicial Service Commission. So he has been there. So I hope the civil servants will give them support, but I hope they will also understand that you are as good as those around you. So if they work very well with civil servants will make them look good. They shouldn't feel intimidated. And the issue of ageism, it's bad because you need senior people to share expertise. You don't have to be intimidated because you are working with Sophie Mkwena. 30 years I came here in 1994, 2nd June, and Cathy is supposed
That's a
to.
long time,
No, you are
eh?
not supposed to be intimidated because you have other skills that I don't possess. We can complement each other and we can make SABC the best broadcaster on the continent. So fusing in the old and the new, it does help to sustain the institution.
We're just watching then the President and the Chief Justice coming into the session where the swearing-in ceremony is going to take place. And in fact, it looks like the program then officially kicking off. I'm going to take you live into that session. Sophie Mohlahlana staying put. We're going to bring you more coverage of this as it unfolds. All right, it looks like there's a bit of a change over there with the microphone. Sophie, it is a big cabinet. Do you? Oh, there we go. There's the president.
They had asked me whether I wanted to change my mind. So I was confirming that there's no mind change. Thank you very much. I was actually asking whether we don't need to open by singing the national anthem. They said, no, Mr. President, just listen to instructions and go ahead and swear the ministers and deputy ministers in. So in terms of the powers that are vested in me by Section 91(2) of the Constitution of the Republic of South Africa, 1996, I have decided to appoint Mr. Sipokosha Paulos Mashatile as the Deputy President of the Republic of South Africa, and I now request the Chief Justice to swear him into office. Chief Justice.
Don't sit down yet. Not yet. I think I must warn the Deputy President designate that there's a lot of work ahead, so we are here to work. Before I swear in the Deputy President, I would like to explain one or two things that will apply to everybody so that you understand. I am going to ask him, and I will ask everyone who will take an oath or affirmation, whether they know and understand the oath or affirmation they're about to take. If you answer no, it means I can't continue with you until later. If you answer yes, the next question will be whether you have any objection to taking the oath or affirmation. If you say yes, you'll have to wait until later. If you say no, you don't have an objection, then the next question will be whether you will consider the oath binding on your conscience. If you say yes, then you say, so help me God, if it's the oath. You say, I affirm, if it's the affirmation. So just remember that I will have those questions for everybody. But for all those who will come after the Deputy President designate, I will call five. We will call five at a time. The DG will call five at a time. I see that the mics are pointing that side. They should point towards this side, rather. I will ask them those questions at the same time. But when they are done and they've given the correct answers, I'll then ask one by one to come here and read the oath by themselves. Okay, thank you. Deputy President-elect, do you know and understand the oath you're about to take?
Yes, I do.
Do you have any objection to taking the oath?
No, I don't.
Do you consider the oath binding on your conscience?
Yes.
Please read the oath aloud then.
In the presence of everyone assembled here, and in full realization of the high calling I assume as Deputy President of the Republic of South Africa, I, Chipokosa Paulus Mashatile, swear that I'll be faithful to the Republic of South Africa and will obey, observe, uphold and maintain the Constitution and all other law of the Republic. And I solemnly and sincerely promise that I will always promote all that will advance the Republic and oppose all that may harm it. Be a true and faithful counselor, discharge my duties with all my strength and talents to the best of my knowledge and ability, and true to the dictates of my conscience, do justice to all, and devote myself to the well-being of the Republic and all its people.
And so help me God.
So help me God.
Thank you. You sign here, yeah. How can you hear us? Congratulations, Mr. Deputy President.
Thank you, Chief.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Chief Justice.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. President, can I now invite you to the podium to announce the swearing-in of the ministers? Mr. President.
Thank you, DG and the Presidency. Chief Justice, in terms of the powers vested in me by Section 91(2) of the Constitution of the Republic of South Africa, 1996, I have decided to appoint the following persons as ministers for the portfolios that have been allocated to them in terms of the signed President's Minute. The names are Ms. Matsiye Angelina Motshekga, Dr. Pakishe Aaron Moswaledi, Dr. Bonginkosi Emmanuel Nzimande, Ms. Mamluku Trifosa Kubai, Mr. Gwede Samson Mantashe, Ms. Stella Tembisa Ndabeni, Ms. Barbara Dallas Creasy, Ms. Patricia DeLille, Mr. Ronald Ozi Lamula, Mr. Edward Senzo Nkunu, Ms. Kumbudzo Nchaveni, Mr. Enoch Godongwana, Ms. Sindisiwe Lydia Chikunga, Ms. Tembisile Pumelele Simelani, Mr. Khosientsu, Dr. Khosientsu David Ramokgopa, Ms. Marupini Lydia Ramokgopa, Mr. Elfas Mfakazeleni Buthelezi, Mr. Dr. Dion Travers George, Dr. Petrus Johannes Groenewald, Ms. Siviwe Kwahube, Mr. Velenkosini Tlabisa, Mr. Dion McPherson, Ms. Pamela Castellina Majodina, Mr. Moba Solomon Malazi, Mr. Gayton Mackenzie, Ms. Nomakosazana Meth, Dr. Nobuhle Nkabane, Mr. Mzwanele Nyoncho, Dr. Leon Amos Schreider, Dr. John Henry Steenhuisen. Did I say doctor or Mr.? Mr. Mpo Pakstau, Ms. Nokuzola Gladys Tolashe. I may have missed a prefix in any one of those. If I did, by not mentioning either doctor or whatever, or Inkosi, whatever, may I be forgiven. I now request the Chief Justice to either swear or affirm the ministers into office. Chief Justice.
It is my pleasure to invite the following ministers designate to take their position in front of the mics as requested by the Chief Justice. Ms. Matsia Angelina Motshekga, Dr. Pakishe Aaron Motsoaledi, no, we are correcting, Chief Justice. Dr. Bonkosi Emmanuel Nzimande, Ms. Mamoloko Trifosa Kubai, Mr. Gwede Samson Mandasha.
Okay. Are you all taking the oath, or are there some taking the affirmation?
I take the affirmation.
Affirmation, two are taking affirmation. Okay, all right. Do you know, understand the oath or affirmation you are about to take?
Yes.
Do you have any objection to taking the oath or affirmation? Do you consider the oath or affirmation binding on your conscience?
Yes.
Please read the oath or affirmation aloud.
We don't have.
How? I was told that you have got them. I was told that you actually should have the oath certificates.
That is so many times. You know it by heart.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay. I just assumed that they would come with them there. Okay. I'm sorry. You are supposed to have the oaths certificates with you, but you'll come here individually to read it. But I thought you already have it, but I think they've got them there. So the first one can come.
All of us.
Can come this side. Yeah. Please read the oath aloud.
I
Angelina Matsie Mutshekga. Let me read from here. Let me repeat that. I, Angelina Matsie Mutshekga, solemnly swear that I will be faithful to the Republic of South Africa and will obey, respect, and uphold the Constitution and all the laws of the Republic. And I undertake to hold my office as Minister with honor and dignity, to be a true and faithful counsellor, and not to divulge directly or indirectly any secret matter entrusted to me, and to perform the functions of my office conscientiously and to the best of my ability. So help me God.
Raise your right hand and say so help me God.
So help me God.
Thank you. You sit down. Let me sit down. You can sign here. Congratulations, Minister.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Okay. Thank you. I don't know whether you take it with you.
So what's this?
Can leave it.
Okay.
Those who are having the oath, if you could fill in the place and the date for me, that would be very helpful. Yeah, okay, all right. Next one, it's Dr. Motsoaledi. Please read the oath aloud, and when you are done, say, so help me God, with your right hand raised.
I, Pakishe Aaron Motsoaledi, swear that I will be faithful to the Republic of South Africa and will obey, respect, and uphold the Constitution and all other law of the Republic, and I undertake to hold my office as Minister with honor and dignity, to be a true and faithful counsellor, not to divulge directly or indirectly any secret matter entrusted to me, and to perform the functions of my office conscientiously to the best of my ability. So help me God.
Thank you. You may take a seat. Thank you. Not yet. Can stand. Congratulations, Minister.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. Dr. Nzimande. Please read the affirmation aloud, Dr. Nzimande.
I, Bonkosi Emmanuel Nzimande, solemnly affirm that I will be faithful to the Republic of South Africa and will obey, respect, and uphold the Constitution and all other law of the Republic. And I undertake to hold my office as Minister with honor and dignity, to be a true and faithful counsellor, not to divulge directly or indirectly any secret matter entrusted to me, and to perform the functions of my office conscientiously and to the best of my ability. I affirm.
Thank you. Take a seat. Then you can sign here. Thank you. Congratulations, Minister.
Thank you very much, Chief.
Thank you. Thank Thank you. Please read the affirmation aloud.
I, Mamoloko Trifosa Kubai, swear that I will be faithful to the Republic of South Africa and will obey, respect.
Sorry. They gave you an affirmation.
Yeah.
You want an oath?
No.
Please bring an oath, not an affirmation, or will you still need to write? Okay. Will she have to do it later? Or have you got one that we will sign? Have you got an oath that has got her name that we will be able to sign? This is an affirmation. She wants an oath.
No, it's oath or affirmation.
Or she has to say swear. I think you must crash, otherwise they'll get confused.
That's what I said. This, I swear.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
that's what I said.
Okay, I thought they... Okay.
I, Mamoloko Trifosa Kubai, swear that I will be faithful to the Republic of South Africa and will obey, respect, and uphold the Constitution and all other law of the Republic. And I undertake to hold my office as Minister with honor and dignity, to be a true and faithful counsellor, not to divulge directly or indirectly any secret matter entrusted to me, and to perform the functions of my office conscientiously and to the best of my ability. So help me God.
Thank you. Take a seat. And then sign here. Congratulations, Minister.
Thank you, Chief
Thank you. Please read aloud, Minister.
I, Gwede Samson Mantashe, swear that I will be faithful to the Republic of South Africa and will obey, respect, and uphold the Constitution and all other laws of the Republic, and I undertake to hold my office as Minister with honor and dignity, to be a true and faithful counsellor, not to divulge directly or indirectly any secret matters entrusted to me, and to perform the function of my office conscientiously and to the best of my ability. So help me God.
Thank you. Take a seat. You want to divulge? Can't tell about secrets. Congratulations, Minister. Thank you. So, Mr. President, if there are any leaks, you will know.
I'm the only one who knows what you meant.
Please join me to welcome to the mics the following ministers designate: Ms. Stella Tembisa Ndabeni Abrams, Ms. Barbara Dallas Chrise, Ms. Patricia DeLille, Mr. Ronald Ozi Lamola, Mr. Edward Senzo Mchunu. I think it's Dr. Patricia DeLille. Okay. All right. Chief Justice?
Thank you. Do you know and understand the oath or affirmation that you are about to take?
Yes.
Do you have any objection to taking the oath or affirmation as the case may be?
No.
Do you consider the oath or affirmation binding on your conscience?
Yes, I do.
Thank you very much. Please read the oath aloud.
Thank you, Chief Justice. I, Stella Tembisa Ndabeni, swear that I will be faithful to the Republic of South Africa and will obey, respect, and uphold the Constitution and all other law of the Republic. And I undertake to hold my office as Minister with honor and dignity, to be a true and faithful counsellor, not to divulge directly or indirectly any secret matter entrusted to me, and to perform the functions of my office conscientiously and to the best of my ability. So help me God.
Thank you. Take a seat. And then sign here. Congratulations, Minister.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is it an affirmation, Chief Justice?
Okay, all right.
Yes.
It's one thing, but you just choose. Okay. Yeah. Please read the affirmation aloud.
I, Barbara Dallas Creasy, solemnly affirm that I will be faithful to the Republic of South Africa and will obey, respect, and uphold the Constitution and all other law of the Republic. And I undertake to hold my office as Minister with honor and dignity, to be a true and faithful counsellor, not to divulge directly or indirectly any secret matter entrusted to me, and to perform the functions of my office conscientiously and to the best of my ability. I affirm.
Thank you. Take a seat.
Thank you.
And then sign here. Congratulations, Minister.
Thank you, Chief Justice.
Thank you. Please read the oath or affirmation aloud.
I, Patricia DeLille, solemnly swear that I will be faithful to the Republic of South Africa and will obey, respect, and uphold the Constitution and all other law of the Republic. And I undertake to hold my office as Minister with honor and dignity, to be a true and faithful counsellor, not to divulge directly or indirectly any secret matter entrusted to me, and to perform the functions of my office conscientiously and to the best of my ability. So help me God.
Thank you. Take a seat. And then you can sign here. Congratulations, Minister.
Thank you, Chief Justice.
Thank you. Thank you. Hey. They've taken it away from us. Please read the oath of affirmation aloud.
I, Ronald Ozi Lamula, swear that I will be faithful to the Republic of South Africa and will obey, respect, and uphold the Constitution and all other law of the Republic. And that I undertake to hold my office as Minister with honor and dignity, to be true and faithful counselor, not to divulge directly or indirectly any secret matter entrusted to me, and to perform the functions of my office conscientiously and to the best of my ability. So help me God.
Thank you. Take a seat. Congratulations, Minister.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Second Balege.
Jesus Balege. Okay. Okay. Thank you. Please read the oath of affirmation aloud.
I, Edward Senzo Mchunu, solemnly swear that I will be faithful to the Republic of South Africa and will obey, respect, and uphold the Constitution and all other laws of the Republic. And I undertake to hold my office as Minister with honor and dignity, to be a true and faithful counselor, not to divulge directly or indirectly any secret matter entrusted to me, and to perform the functions of my office conscientiously and to the best of my ability. So help me God.
Thank you. Take a seat. Thank you. Congratulations, Minister.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We invite the following ministers designate to approach the mics: Ms. Kombozo Nchabene, Mr. Enoch Godongwana, Ms. Sindisiwe Lydia Chikunga, Ms. Tembisile Pumelele Simelane, Dr. Kosiensu David Ramokopa.
Do you know and understand the oath of affirmation you're about to take, as the case may be?
Yes.
Yes, I do.
Do you have any objection to taking the oath of affirmation?
No.
Do you consider the oath of affirmation binding on your conscience?
Yes, I do.
Please, the first one can come. Please read the oath of affirmation aloud.
I, Kombozo Nchabene, swear that I will be faithful to the Republic of South Africa and will obey, respect, and uphold the Constitution and all other law of the Republic. And I undertake to hold my office as Minister
with honor and dignity, to be a true and faithful counsellor, not to divulge directly or indirectly any secret matter entrusted to me, and to perform the functions of my office conscientiously and to the best of my ability.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Take a seat. Thank you. You sign here. Thank you. Congratulations, Minister.
Thank you, Chief Justice.
Thank you. Please read the oath of affirmation aloud.
I, Enoch Odongwana, swear that I will be faithful to the Republic of South Africa and will obey, respect, and uphold the Constitution and all other law of the Republic. And I undertake to hold my office as Minister with honor and dignity, to be a true and faithful counsellor, not to divulge directly or indirectly any secret matter entrusted to me, and to perform the functions of my office conscientiously and to the best of my ability. So help me God.
Thank you. You may take a seat. And then you can sign here. Congratulations, Minister.
Thank you.
Thank you. Please read the oath of affirmation aloud.
I, Sindisiwe Lydia Chikunga, swear that I will be faithful to the Republic of South Africa and will obey, respect, and uphold the Constitution and all other law of the Republic. And I undertake to hold my office as Minister with honor and dignity, to be a true and faithful counsellor, not to divulge directly or indirectly any secret matter entrusted to me, and to perform the functions of my office conscientiously and to the best of my ability. So help me God.
Thank you. Take a seat. And then you can sign here.